live now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new week of the virtual bridge sessions. We're doing this a little bit differently this time, so we're going to wait a couple of minutes. Hopefully we will have a few of you viewing on YouTube, which is different from our previous delivery methods. I'll do a short introduction just now, wait a couple of minutes and do a more formal introduction. So please do hold on while we get the viewer count up. If you would like to ask any questions, make any comments regarding how this is being received, hashtag virtual bridge on Twitter. That's hashtag virtual bridge on Twitter. And if you would like to check that hashtag just now on Twitter, you should see a link to an article written up by JISC about Dale Clancy winning the CDN award last year for innovative teaching. So if you could hold on a couple of seconds, I will run through this introduction once again, just for the latecomers, and then we will be moving on to the award-winning Dale Clancy telling us about his work at Borders College. Kenji, who is moderating us in the background, has asked me to sing a song, but I will not be forcing that on you at this time. Okay, I will be refreshing the Twitter feed with the hashtag virtual bridge in my search bar to call up all the notifications that you kind of people are putting there. Any questions as we go through, hashtag virtual bridge on Twitter, and you should be able to find any comments there. I've just been informed there's 23 watching so far, so thank you very much everyone for joining. That's great. It is a couple of minutes after our allotted starting time. This part of the video will be getting chopped up and recorded, so I will start once again as though I didn't say any of that. Let's start. Hello and welcome to a new week of virtual bridge sessions, 11 AM Tuesday to Friday, hosted by CDN and JISC for the EdTech Enthused, and those of us that realise we have to be EdTech Enthused these days. Today's session is in a different format than normal. Please bear with us in case there is any teething troubles. The new format means it will be slightly less interactive than usual, but we still want your questions. In order to ask a question, could you please use the hashtag #virtualbridge on Twitter. That's hashtag virtual bridge on Twitter. And I'll look to pick them up from there after Dale's presentation. So today's session will be the award-winning Dale Clancy of Borders College. Dale is a lecturer of electrical installation at Borders College and recently received the JISC-sponsored award at the annual CDN event for the Digital Learning Award, which recognised his innovative use of technology. So well before this whole coronavirus thing appeared over the horizon, Dale recognised that the previous paper-based workbook didn't use all the technology available. This meant that teaching and learning was not as rich or efficient as it should have been. It meant that students were not using technology that their future employers/clients would expect. I'll leave it to Dale to explain the journey in detail. I'll also supply at the end a link to the recent article that just wrote up showcasing Dale and Borders College work in this area. Again, any questions that you'd like me to pass on during this session, hashtag virtual bridge on Twitter. Okie dokie. So with no further ado, I will hand over to Dale. Dale, if I could ask you to share your screen and say hello to the world.
Yeah, hello. As Owen said, I'm a lecturer at Borders College, so we're quite a small, or a smaller college than perhaps some others out there. And how this came about was the fact that we'd had kind of smaller numbers in electrical installation over the last couple of years. So we tried to look at ways as an electrical team to try and adapt and change to the kind of the demands in the industry. One way of doing that was to kind of go away from a paper-based, which I'll bring up shortly to show you all the apps that I use. It was a paper-based format, which was big portfolios that were put in timbers, that were more assessment-based. They were do an assessment, lock it away. And I felt that there was a big need to try and make it a little bit more of an ongoing process. And over time, we were able to implement a lot of the Office 365 tools to help that along the way. Along with that, what we've been able to do is be a little bit more flexible in our delivery to allow adult trainees to come to the college as well. So they would come one day every fortnight And because it's really readily accessible, I don't think they're at a disadvantage to the modern apprentices who are there for 2-3 days a week. So it seems to be working really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline the different apps that we use. I'm not going to try and go into too much detail because there's a lot of apps. So I want to go over what they all do, and then I can show you at the end how I integrate them all together. And again, it's an ongoing process. I'm still trying to find out the best ways of working, but it seems to be other apps are starting to come in to play when you're doing more things, and the students, you're getting a little bit more feedback. So what I'll do is I'll try and share my screen, and I will show you, hopefully this is the one that we're wanting. So what you should see now is the Office 365 home page. I can see a nod for Owen, so that's a good start. So what this is here is pretty much like your central hub. So it's a Microsoft package, and everybody will be familiar with the likes of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They'll be very familiar with them, and other things like Sway and Forms are probably apps that people have maybe never really used too much, but they're really, really simple. And they do, when they're all working together, they give a really nice cohesion to the usability for the students. So what I'll do is I've got some tabs up the top there. I'm going to go through them and show you what they do. And then at the end of that, what I'll do is I'll just give you a few examples of how I integrate them together to work. So the first one really is your OneDrive. So your OneDrive's just essentially just your storage, your file storage. And the beauty of that is it's a cloud-based. So when I first started at the college, all your files were saved internally in the college. So if I left and I went out and I was needing to support a student, I got an email or something, I would find it very, very difficult to try and find the resources to try and support them. So I've taken all my stuff and put them onto OneDrive so that I've got a little bit more flexibility. Obviously, there's GDPR. I don't have any documents that that are sensitive. These are all teaching materials or things that I'm needing from a delivery, which are able to be stored here. It's all password protected anyway. But the beauty of it is you're able to access them on your phone, your iPad, or the laptop such as this. So the great thing about working from home now is I've been able to access all my files. I have been able to make that a local folder as well. So when I use the apps such as Word or Excel, they just look like normal files that you would use on your computer. So it's worked in really well. The one way students use this is that when I distribute work to them, they'll save it in their OneDrive area. So they're then able to work on this portfolio work from home, or if they're off or absent, or if they swap computers, they're able to just be a little bit more flexible with the work that they're doing. Another good thing is that they're actually able to share that document with me. So a lot of the stuff we do is ongoing portfolio work spanning maybe 6-7 weeks. So they're able to share that document with me so I can go in and mark it and give feedback. And I'll show you an example of that later on. But that's the one way that the students and staff are using OneDrive, is just to be a little bit more flexible in meetings if you're external. I know now we're more virtual and doing a lot more online. But if I was traveling up to Stirling or going to Edinburgh for a meeting, I was able to access all my notes and quite quickly and efficiently. Another one that we used that have really kind of brought in this year is Microsoft Teams. I know it says it's got an error there, but it did load earlier. And this is more of your, so if that doesn't work, I knew there was going to be something wrong. But what this is you can, a bit like Moodle, so you can obviously create your groups in your courses. And what this does is I'm able to then create my different groups and have a little bit more of an informal conversation. Now, what I'd usually do is I'd work with the app version as opposed to on the browser. I'm obviously just trying to show the browser version because it's easier to demonstrate. So what I'll do is actually I'm going to stop share and I'm going to share my other version. If you just bear with me for a second. And so a lot of these, although they're on a browser, you're then able to use an app as well. So what you can see here is I've actually got various teams. So as it says in the tin, I've got the electrical installation and engineering, that's a staff team. And these ones here, they're all student teams. So you can see here, if I just click on that, it takes me to like a conversation page. So I can interact with my students. I can actually film lessons. You can see here I've actually filmed something this morning, a bit of guidance for students to then go. This saves on Microsoft Stream, which I'll show you in a minute, but it just gives you a little bit of informal conversation as opposed to having it external on a WhatsApp or a Facebook. It allows you to keep it in the one place, and it seems that students really enjoy that. And along with that, you can chat individually to students, so you can actually speak to them, staff, you can speak to staff members or groups. So there's a little bit of interaction with a student that I've had about I'm not making this morning's lesson. There's a lot more that you can do with that, a lot more that I've not started with. Assignments is something I want to try and do next year, a bit like Turn It In, is to bring that into it as well. But the calendar as well is a good use. So you can actually see, merges with your Outlook, you can actually see what lessons and things are coming up and what you're actually doing for the week. So students will get that, they'll click on that little tab, and then they'll be able to join the meeting from the link that's provided inside there. So that's how we use Teams. I'm going to show a different screen as well, because again, I think the browser version is a little bit different, but OneNote is the thing that probably started this. So again, if I can share my screen, what you should see now is a OneNote page. So what pretty much I use for is to have all the content from my lessons, and I've got all the students' portfolio work there. So what they're able to do is they're able to access different portfolios, different lessons, and then submit that and upload that to the different areas to demonstrate knowledge. And this is where a lot of the different applications all merge in together, likes of Forms and likes of Sway as well. So you can see here the collaboration space. You can set up different areas here, so it could be wiring methods, and different students we can all collaborate in the one space. Upload images, pictures, you can put them in. So you can see there's a lot of different things that you can actually do in this area. The main one that I use is the content library. So what I use in here is the different portfolios we have is the induction, the workshop, site organisation, science, and bed and breakfast. So they're the portfolios that we do. So what we do is we create lessons, outline them, put all the content in there, PDFs, Word documents, different links, might be diagrams you've got to download. You can put those in there, such as I've got here. But this one's a really good, and I'll come on to it shortly, but the use of Microsoft Forms is really good. And what it allows you to put in a quiz or a bit of feedback, and if you can keep it in the same area, or however you use it, contribute it however you want, but it allows you just to check progress as you're going. So a lot of the time what we do is we would have a little quick question paper there, and the students would just go, right, I think that's the highest one. They would move them up and down, submit them. It might be multiple choice, it might be a text answer, but it's just a good way to try and gain understanding and check progress of students. So that's how we use, obviously, the content library. That can only be edited by lecturers, so they can adapt. Students can copy some areas and edit them as they go. But on the whole, it's actually, this is pretty much the backbone of the lessons is there, the question project, the evidence requirements, which allows them to go on to their area to complete various aspects of the complete diagrams and insert regulations. You can put voice notes in there for feedback, and also circle different areas that are maybe needing a little bit more work or needing addressed. So it's a really good tool for feedback. We've had good feedback from EVs and QVs who have looked at this, because it's really quick for giving feedback. So when you're looking at it, you can keep putting feedback just in the areas that it's needed, and then have a lot down at the end. I don't know if I did show you much there for the feedback at the end, but you can get a lot of feedback in there, so the student actually gets a good bit of bespoke feedback to themselves, and not just generic, well done, good work. You give them a little bit good work ons there. The voice note's really good, especially for remedial work. So you could speak to the student and say, like, oh, you've got this here, what you're actually trying to demonstrate, and then they can tell you that's an intermediate switch, or they can tell you that they've missed out a couple of lines, and it can kind of further their understanding if they've missed something out, because it would obviously be a huge task to maybe download that again, submit remedial work, and then upload it. So that's how we use OneNote. And again, I'm going to chop and change to stop and share my screen. So I'll share back to the browser version. If I could move this, I might just minimize it a little bit. So the next one that I was on about before, Microsoft Forms. So what you'll see here is I've actually, if you can see that quite clearly, I've actually got loads of different forms. I use them quite a lot because I think they're a great revision tool. They're a great tool to do on the go. You can do them on your phone. You can do them at a computer, on your iPad, wherever, and it's really flexible.
Sorry,
easy to create, so you can do a quiz. No, you're fine.
Dale, can I just say, just now we can only see a big white screen. We can see the address of the page. Oh, it's came up now. Sorry, it was white there. Sorry.
Right, that's fine. I've just refreshed the page, so hopefully it should load. So you can let me know what you...
Yeah, it's loading just now. We can see health and safety eventually, and it's it.
Cool. Perfect, right. Well, what these are is as I say, they're assessments or formative assessments, and you can always use them for student feedback as well, which is something that is really important, especially for the way that we're developing the course, is understanding how students learn. But for example, we've got a lot down here. We might have, let's find one, special locations. So that's one of the units that we cover, part of the regulations. If I click on there, it allows me then to edit it, but you can see there's loads of different questions here. They've got the answers, so it self-marks. So if I scroll down at the bottom, if I wanted to add a new question, you just click add new. You've got choice, text, maybe a rating, and you can put in different multiple choice answers. They're really, really flexible. But the beauty of this, I feel, that is when you go to responses, the data that it shows you is really good. It doesn't actually load. So it comes up in a pie chart format, so you can see what kind of answers you've been getting. You can maybe see that, oh, I've got 3 different answers there, so somebody's maybe getting the whole point. Let's maybe revise that area. But you can also, I take it as additional evidence and store it in my OneNote in a teacher-only section. So you can actually open that as an Excel. So it download there, and you can see at the bottom it's an Excel spreadsheet. So it takes all that data, who completed the form, how long it took, all their answers and their score, and it saves that as additional evidence. So it's a really, really good tool. What we try and do is have a forms for pretty much every topic. And especially in times like this, when some of the assessments aren't maybe going to get completed in a traditional format, you're still covering it, and you're showing that the students do have an understanding of it. So I think it's really, really important that the formative work is done, and it's not just you're covering the topic with no evidence. So it's really, really good for formative work. Feedback as well. See there, I've got a coursework feedback, generic answers, ratings in there. You can put different backgrounds on to make it look good, and make it a little more, or even for when you've got it on your screen, you can actually see what it's probably going to contain. The Scotland flag, nice and easy, it's going to be Scottish Building Standards. The Scrabble feedback is always going to be feedback. So you can create templates and use them again and again. So it's really, really good. Another one, Microsoft Sway. Something that I've just been, again, a lot of this I've just been kind of experimenting with. But what we had is we had a portfolio with not a lot of guidance and tutorial work. So what I did is it's pretty much just a PowerPoint. It's just a little bit smoother on an iPad or an iPhone if you're looking at stuff on the go. So what you can do is actually drag in old PDFs that you've maybe not used for a while, and they can form. It does eventually look really, really good. Nice and easy to format and structure. Again, you can put them in topic areas and sections, but when you play it, it looks like it's a little bit different on a computer than it is to a phone or a tablet, but you still get the idea. It makes it just split across simply. You can get little flip cards which come in, which we're going to explain different job roles. And then again, you can insert a forms question paper in that. So what we've done is each topic we've tried to have this assigned to like an activity. So they can go through this, look at the chart, go through the different job roles. This is formative work, and then they're then on to the next work, because this was meant to be done at distance. So it's a really good tool to use that way. So you give people just a different slant in it. Instead of looking through a OneNote page and looking at all the information, it just gives them something a little bit different to digest. Now, the last one that I'll cover quickly, because I know I'm kind of blabbing on a bit, the last one that I'll cover is Microsoft Stream. Now, the way that I've used this really is using it through Microsoft Teams, especially just now. I've actually solely used it just now. So what I've been doing is, when I've been undertaking lessons, my apprentices, some of them are still working. Some of them are key workers on power plants, or some of them have been working at a new hospital. They're not able to join in with the lesson. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to actually film the lesson, and then it saves in the Teams area, and they're then able to go and look at that again. So if I go into my groups, and I should have the different I'm part of, and hopefully SVQ stage 1 comes up somewhere. This one here. So you can see there's a couple of different videos up there just now. They're the latest ones that I've put up, but course guidance and structure, and different instructions in question 15. They can actually go back and look at that. One's 25 minutes long, one's 9 minutes long. It just allows a little bit more cohesion. Now, you can film them and then save them to stream. You can use them as student evidence. There's different ways that you can use this, but basically it's like a kind of internal YouTube channel. It's really good for using it that way. The last thing I'll say before I kind of show you how the two that I use mainly work together is the Microsoft Education Center is really good for little CPD sessions. So if you've got access to Microsoft and Office 365, there's loads of little courses that you can actually do. You obviously put them down as CPD, but they're really good for bespoke stuff like Teams or OneNote, or how to create classes, create groups, and do the more do the structure and the building of it, because I know I've just explained what the apps do and how I use them, but obviously behind that there's a lot of actual functionality in using them. Now, the Microsoft Center, the Education Center, is really good. I've done a few of them. You get certificates. So I've done Introduction to Teams. I've a couple of OneNote ones and a couple of Teams ones, just to try and figure out how to work them best. The main ones that I do use, though, are my OneNote and my Teams. They're the kind of crux of it. So to try and explain it in the best possible, my Microsoft Teams is my informal chat area. That's like my receptionist. That is my area where the students will meet, students will get together, we'll discuss, we'll chat, they'll tell me if they're going to be late, they'll tell me if they can't come to a lesson, and also I can give guidance if there's any issues. In behind that as well, so again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly, if I can find that screen again, I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to show you the Teams and show you how I kind of work them together. If we can get Teams there. And this will be the last screen share that I'll do. So if I go on Teams there, this is the first stage one. So this is pretty much my Moodle course page. This is informal chat. This is guidance for all students so that they all get the same information. Now up the top there, there's different tabs that you can put in. You can put in links to websites, stuff that they're going to use, but you can see the class notebooks there. So when I'm using OneNote, the notebook is actually there in the one page. They don't have to ever leave Teams. I suggest that they do, because that version is better to use, but it's all there if they want it in, obviously, the blink of an eye, and for longer. But you can see that I've got different things. You can put links to Kahoot, HSE, which is obviously the Health and Safety Executive. Quick links you can put up at the top, but the students get access to theirs. Teams is my receptor. I do the lessons and the portfolio work, and that's how they kind of all collate their knowledge and demonstrate that they've understood different topic areas. So I think pretty much that is how I use stuff. I don't know if Owen's got any feedback of how if anybody wants to see anything specific or in particular, but I didn't want to go too far into it and say that, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll stop the share screen.
Okay,
And then,
excellent, Dale. Thank you so much for that. We have got a few questions coming up on Twitter. For the recorded section of this, we can only run for 30 minutes. I think we've got a couple of minutes that we can address some questions. We'll pause then, formally end the video, and then we'll go through some of the other questions for those that want to remain online on the YouTube stream. So thanks so much for that. I think that was really interesting. You know, you can see the amount of, there's obviously a decent amount of work that went into making that, understanding how all that worked for yourself, and it's so good that you've shared that. So one of the questions that was first asked was from David Hiddleston, which was asking, how does that interact with your Moodle or VLE, but whatever you have at the college? You know, is this a standalone thing? Is it somehow integrated, or have you just left the VLE behind?
I've tried to kind of make the OneNote and the Teams the VLE, because I had a lecturer before, George McGill. He was phenomenal. He set up the Moodle, and I think it was a lot for one man to do. And I think it just ended up being loads and loads of different resources there, but it was kind of unstructured. I don't think he'd be too annoyed if he heard me say that, but it became too much of a task to try and revitalise that. And I did stumble across, I've been very fortunate that this started to work. So the OneNote, using it on a phone, using it on an iPad, Teams, video conferencing like this, I feel the students have engaged a little bit more than using it through the likes of a Moodle. However, I would like to try and go back the way and use maybe Moodle a little bit more, but I feel that for the apprenticeship scheme, because our full-time students are slightly different, they use Moodle, and our commercial courses use Moodle. Our apprentices on the go like how quick and crisp the Microsoft stuff is, because you can app base it, photos on site, and be able to do stuff a lot quicker than what they are able to do in Moodle.
Excellent. I mean, I have heard that chat in other contexts as well, with people saying, well, our VLE is just going to disappear once we use these products, whether it be Microsoft or Google equivalents. And so these things do seem to be becoming more VLE-like as we go on. Yeah. So we're getting near the half-hour mark. I'm going to formally say goodbye and thank you to everyone, so we can close the official YouTube recording, and then I'm going to keep on asking questions. So please, people, stay on the line if you have asked a question using #VirtualBridge. So just scrolling through the Twitter feed, we've got a lot of praise and thanks, Dale, coming in, which is great. Kendry has relayed a question. Can you embed MS Forms within the OneNote space or something like a Word doc? So does any comment there?
Yeah, the beauty of Forms is that you can, in the tutorial area, in the content library, you can embed a form, so as they're going through the work, they're able to, you might cover it might be, say, special locations, because I did cover that. It might be explaining about why the purpose of special locations is and where you can find them in the regs book. And then you can have a forms directly below that. So the thing I like about the OneNote is when you find the portfolio and you find the question, the way I've structured it, it's all in the one space or 2 pages. And as you go through the tutorial, it's got a bit of continuity about it, I feel. So when you've covered some stuff, you can then test your knowledge, and it feels a little bit like you're subconsciously learning. It's not like you're. I feel it's a little bit more natural when you're going through it. You're reading some information like you would in your phone if you're reading the news or whatever, and then eventually down the page you're getting a forms question paper. So that all that information comes straight back to me. I look back in my hub and I'll find out how the students are getting on. You can delete responses, you can give feedback on forms. The good thing about that is eventually you can post the score. So when that student's looking through the OneNote page, they can actually use their answers as revision. So they'll see their answers and they'll see what the correct answer might have been and the feedback. So you can post that to the one page. So when they go back to it, it's, instead of it being a question paper, it's like their notes essentially. So it's quite good to embed in OneNote that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So a question on digital signatures. Do you use digital signatures to sign off on pieces of work?
Yes. At the moment, we did speak to SECT about, obviously, putting the portfolios online. And a lot of the controlled our science assessments are very controlled. They're done in-house, paper-based. But the portfolio work is once it's submitted, we download that and we'll sign it and retain that evidence ourselves, as opposed to having it on the OneNote. But yeah, we'd use a digital signature similar to the one that we actually give to SECT to sign off the bottom of portfolio work. Students don't, because it's in their OneNote and they're doing it in class, and then they engage with us. Like, it's easy to it's easier to track plagiarism. So you can see a demonstration of their own work and a little bit of professional understanding knows that when somebody's plagiarising, because we have had instances where people have copied work and then you address that at the time. But yeah, students will just complete the work. They'll put their name in where they need, and at the bottom, the IV and the assessor will put their digital signature down because they're saved in the college.
Okay, excellent, thank you. A question from Fiona Gary asking just for a little bit of clarity regarding the difference between this, what you're doing, and SharePoint. Now, I think SharePoint's a part of this, is that correct?
Aye. Again, my response is usually, I'm just an electrician, I don't really know. SharePoint is, I'm led to believe, is the structure behind it. And if I'm looking at somebody else, hoping that they know, but it's kind of everything that you create. SharePoint is pretty much the management system behind it. They're doing a lot of work at our college at the moment. We're in the early stages of putting structures in place to try and get more staff using Office 365. My knowledge of SharePoint is very minimal, so I wouldn't like to say something and go, that's how it works, because everything else for me works fine just now without understanding SharePoint. But I think behind the scenes, behind everything that you do, SharePoint is in the background, just tracking everything and organising it.
Excellent. I can see Ken just nodding his head there as well. And again, I'm not a SharePoint expert, but as far as I know, it's the file sharing behind it, and having a decent structure means that everything else can then come from there. So I think SharePoint is like a building block of this, and quite a vital one. Okay, a question from Jason Miles Campbell. Your use of the tools is impressive and comprehensive. How much investment of time did you have to put into it to get to this stage? And is it saving you time now?
It definitely saved me time. Over the last month, I think it's probably saved me quite a lot of anxiety and stress, because I think I was quite well set up to continue with the work that we'd already done. It was more for students who perhaps were absent or working or couldn't make it to college, just so that nobody missed out. Because along with that, then I've got to dedicate time as well to trying to get them back on board, which is taken away from somebody else. It was a lot of work. And again, I've always said it's a lot of work from a couple of members of staff at the college who I really relied on for a little bit of knowledge, who were using it. And I think because they had bigger class sizes at the time, they probably didn't end up putting as much work in because they were unable to. It was a lot of work at the start, a lot of work from the students as well, understanding how they best learn. And it was a good exercise, because I don't think anybody ever went, oh, I do actually learn better from watching videos, or I learn better from reading. So it's a big collaborative effort. It was ongoing throughout the year. It was a lot of kind of later nights, doing stuff on the go. I probably bit off more than I could chew. I did do 2 years at the once. I did stage 1 and stage 2. I should have just done stage 1 and then rolled on and done stage 2 this year. However, I've been able to do stage 3 this year and do the FICA group, who usually have no support. So I've been able to, I've benefited this year as to what I did last year. It was a lot of work, but I'm really glad that I've done it, because it seems to be well received by the students and some staff members, which is probably the main thing. So it's definitely been worth it, but it was a lot of time put into it to develop it and fine tune it, because there was a lot of problems along the way.
Oh, and I've got a question for Dale. Dale, from an institutional point of view, are many other lecturers sort of following on and using what you've developed, or is it getting pushed by the institution? Where are you?
I think like Office 365 kind of came out of it came into our site from the background. I think people just started saying, oh, you can use Office 365. So we started using it. And I think over time, there was Moodle and then there was Office 365. And I think staff had a lot of autonomy to use what best fitted, which I think is great. I think whatever staff and students are best for learning, they should be able to use. I certainly wasn't the first to use it. I think a lot of staff members were using bits of it. But definitely now, over the last, I think we had a 700% increase in users of Teams over the COVID period. So we have had a big uptake now of people using it, but certainly beforehand, especially in the faculty I work in, the electricians, the joiners especially, and the plumbers especially, and painter and decorators, sorry, from what I can see that they use, not to say that the other members, because brickwork are using it, motor vehicle are using it, they are using it in different ways. And I think now the college is trying really, really hard and working hard to try and get some sort of standardization and continuity across the board. It's not an easy and quick process. It's not like it can happen by next year. I think they're trying to obviously get everyone off in OneDrive first, and then set up a structure of the teams so that they're controlled better. Because if somebody left, then they would be ownerless. So there is a big uptake. I think a lot of staff like the functionality of Office 365, but then again, a lot of staff like the functionality of Moodle. So I think it's a little bit of a collective approach to making sure that there's some sort of continuity. On my Moodle page, just as a kind of a side topic, on my Moodle page, it's headed what the course is, and I've got a link straight to the Teams page. So it is linked in. So if somebody stumbled across the Moodle page, they would know that all my resources are there. So if we're getting audited or somebody was wanting to see what I was doing, they can easily track and trace where I've been. And that was given to us as guidance from IT. So
great stuff. There's an interesting observation from Scott Connor at UHI there, which is pointing out that unlike regular VLEs, this is, the MS apps are actually something that you could expect them to use in their working life later on, the students. So, it's valuable in and of itself. So I think that's a great comment from Scott there.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Just looking through for some more questions. There's one in terms of from Arnie Coolcat. Sorry, I can't be any more specific than that. Excellent session. Thanks, Dale. Where do you pick up or see your stream videos and Sway content within the Teams area? Where do you
see it? So
where do you pick up or see the stream videos and Sway content within the Teams area?
So what you do is if you'd scheduled a meeting, or even if you'd started a meeting, there's an option to record it. So when you're recording that session or you're recording that video, what there actually is once it's completed, and you come out of that, the actual conversation is held in that that tab in that little bit of conversation. So if on my Teams page, I've scheduled every session from now until the end of term. So when the students log in, they're all headed. So when they go into that, say it's 21st of April today, they'll be able to go into the 21st of April in the conversations tab, and the stream video recording will be there, I think, for 7 days. And after 7 days, they then have to log into their group on stream. So it's for 7 days, it's readily accessible. Any chat that you have in that conversation, in that video session as well, is also saved underneath, and you can continue that conversation on after. So if there was a common thread or a piece of knowledge that was needing maybe expanded upon, you can continue that thread there. And I think it's a great thing for evidence. I always say to the students, like, by putting stuff up there is not showing that you don't understand something, it shows you want to understand it more. And the evidence there of actually engaging with the students and fine-tuning and then finding out that, right, if they don't know that now, then something's missing in my work. So then it's then trying to piece that in and fill the gaps. So yeah, in that conversation tab, when you start the meeting, the saving, the recording will save there with all the text underneath.
Okay, excellent. A follow-up question from Scott Connor, UHI. Once again, the VLE versus the Microsoft stuff here. So given the fact it's a different system, does that impact on the support in terms of what you get from your IT team for tech and user support, or are they actually more comfortable in the Microsoft stuff rather than the VLE side of things?
I find it's a difficult one to answer without... our IT, I feel our IT department, because we're a smaller college, is small. They're overwhelmed with stuff, I feel. I've learned a lot of the stuff like through colleagues or myself as we go. Like, I think as a college, we've got a really good spirit and a really good working relationship between each other. We like to share good practice. We don't withhold stuff from each other. So IT-wise, I think they're learning new stuff as they go as well. Like we're hitting problems left, right, and centre with different things as things progress. So we get really good support from them. It's sometimes, it's a new experience for them as well. So sometimes they're maybe having to investigate different issues to try and come up with the answers, because Moodle's been something that's been quite prevalent in the college for a few years. So I think the Microsoft stuff is new to them, a bit, or newer to them. Like I think the apps and things are very, very comfortable with. They're obviously an IT department, but I think the maybe the intricacies and the problems when you maybe can't access a notebook when you've already been shared it. I think these things are new experiences that they're finding out as they go. A bit like I think a bit like staff as well.
And I guess one of the advantages is it's be a bit easier to Google for people that have had the same issue using Teams than it would be for your own VLE internally. So do you go somewhere, where's your go-to place if you're thinking, how do I make Sway work? Where do you Google? What do you search for? Do you have any forums or tips for people?
Yeah, there's loads of great. Microsoft, because they're a huge organisation, Microsoft have like a really good troubleshooting section. I found a lot of ways to do things. Simple tasks, type into Google, it comes up, and the first place you go is Microsoft Forum. Their official one as well. It's really, really good, and it really does help iron out any little issues that you have. So that's where I would go. I would always I'm a bit of a Googler, so Google, find the page that works, and then just go crack on and try and see if you can fix the problem. But yeah, the forums are really good. The Education Centre is really good as well.
Okay. Wonderful. So I'm just going to, I think that was the last virtual bridge question that I've got via Twitter just now. I'm just refreshing to make sure that nothing's come in. There may be a little bit of a gap between people typing and ourselves being here. But just for your information, Dale, I know you can't see here, but many thanks and many compliments for the presentation and the work that you've done here. So the last question I guess I'll be asking yourself is, how jealous are your colleagues that you had all this in place for everyone being sent home? Have you now become the go-to guru for people at Borders College?
I do get asked quite a lot of questions, and I think that I've actually got a job in the college now. I'm seconded for a year being an independent learning specialist, so it's to help staff and students work a little bit more independently, and it fits in. So I think that the staff that I work beside and alongside, they're really proactive. I don't think jealousy is a thing. I think they are really keen to know what works best and then share what works best as well. So I do get asked a lot of questions that a lot of the time I don't know the answer to, but I think we've got a really good staff base, really good group of people that certainly are well prepared as well. Like I've demonstrated this. I've tried to change our course, but a lot of the other staff members are doing similar things. Maybe not using all the apps. Maybe they are. Maybe they don't tell us. But they certainly they're set up to an extent. I think there's some staff who maybe didn't use Teams, especially, are finding it hard to get students engaged now and get them on board. But once they're engaged, it's so easy to use notifications on your phone. It's like getting a text. It's chat. It's really easy, and then if you use that as your hub, you kind of hook all the students in. So it's usually really good after that.
Excellent. Yes, and as has been pointed out on Twitter by David Hiddleston, it's developing the transferable skills in students as well, which is always to be welcome. So once again, I can just echo all the thanks that came through on our hashtag virtual bridge. We will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Kenji, can you tell us? I should have looked this up before I started speaking. Who we've got tomorrow?
It could be you, to be fair.
Oh,
we have a blank spot.
Is it?
As we're transitioning to the YouTube sessions just for this week. We'll probably try something different next week, but we do have one empty space, so you should just turn up, see what's there. So Owen, do you want to do a session?
If anyone's still online and wants to quickly volunteer, oops. Okay, my internet. Kenji, thank you for posting.
We have timed that well. I think Owen's experiencing some bandwidth experiences, and Dale, your connection from the borders has held up well.
Perfect.
Excellent. So, okay, we will be closing the YouTube live session just now. We'll be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. And if you're able to join us then, we'll add some details to the program to let you know who's presenting tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get some details in there in the next hour. But until then, please stay safe. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Okay, so